All right, let's see how much we can get through this parsha. This parsha is like a huge parsha on so many levels. Let's see if we can get through here. Okay, let's start at the beginning, page 124, 125. The Elu Toldos Yisrael ben Avram. And these are the children of Yisrael, son of Avram. Avram Horis Yisrael. Avram gave birth to Yisrael. Again, these are the children of Yisrael, son of Avram. Avram gave birth to Yisrael. And Rashi is bothered by the obvious question. There's a redundancy. If Yisrael is the son of Avram, then obviously Avram fathered Yisrael. You don't have to say Yisrael ben Avram. Avram Horis Yisrael. It's one and the same, right? It's also interesting. It says Elu Toldos Yisrael. These are the children of Yisrael, and it doesn't mention the children, right? So Rashi says, okay, Yaakov Esav Hamun Repasha. The first Rashi says, okay, it's referring to Yaakov and Esav. They'll be mentioned later on in the parsha. So Toldos refers to the children of Yisrael. They'll be mentioned later on. So Rashi says, don't get nervous. The Torah will talk about them later on. But the obvious question is, so why bring them up now if the Torah is not going to introduce us to them till later on? So Rashi's giving me a half-baked answer. Because, okay, so Toldos refers to the children, but it still begs the question, why they mention now? Rashi says, okay, they mention later. So how does that solve my problem? Right? Okay. So Yitzchak is obviously the second of the Avos, and Yitzchak's role is entirely different than Avram. They're literally opposites. Avram is a very proactive, I hate to use the word, outgoing, chesed entrepreneur, right? He's out there reaching out to others in every which way. And there's so much written about Avram. There's Lechcha, there's Vayera, there's a bit of Chaisara, right? Told us, Yitzchak is probably the least written about Avos. He is the least about Avos. This Parsha told us, that's it. I mean, and even in this Parsha, he's very the passive party. It's Rivka doing all the acting, right? He's kind of being acted upon. And even the Akedah, he's being acted on. So he really represents almost the opposite of Avram's out there. Yitzchak represents almost the opposite meter. Yitzchak's role is not to be out there and being creative, but his role actually is to be, he represents tradition, the concept of Messiah. Let me say what I mean in a few places. So Rashi first tells us that the reason why it says Yitzchak the son of Avram, Avram fathered Yitzchak, Rashi tells us an interesting thing, that the Litzanei Hadar, the mockers of that generation, they said, May Avimelech nis Abrasar. That this doesn't make sense. Avimelech, that Avram is not the true father of Sarah. Avimelech is the father of Yitzchak, rather. Avram is not the father of Yitzchak, rather, but may Avimelech, from Avimelech nis Abrasar, Sarah become pregnant. Why? Because soon after she was abducted, that's when she became pregnant. And so therefore, in order to, what?
I'm sorry, but then Ishaq looked like...
So in order to ensure, to stop these gossipers, Hashem said, you know what, I'm going to make Yitzchak look like Abraham, and that'll stop the gossipers from yenting. So we have a couple of questions. First of all, Yitzchak's 40 years old now. If you want to tell us that Yitzchak looked like Abraham, the time to tell us that was when he was born, not now. Why? Right now, we're telling us, when he's born, he looked like Abraham. Why are you telling us now? Number two, why is Hashem reacting to bunch of gossipers, a bunch of ladies gossiping around there? Hashem said, okay, a bunch of people gossiping, right? And obviously, Hashem said, I got to stop these gossipers. I'll make Yisrael gossip. Since when does Hashem feel the need to react to gossipers? The truth of the matter is, these weren't gossipers. In fact, Rashi doesn't say gossipers. He says, late Sunday Hadar. A letz is a mocker. These people, this wasn't stam gossip for the sake of, just gossip. This was what's a mocker? Somebody who ridicules, is trying to undermine something. These people were trying to undermine what they saw was this very powerful shalshelis. There's an Avram, there's a Yitzchak, and that's going to be Yaakov, right? And they saw this shalshelis, this chain, this legacy being built. And not just legacy, this whole ideology being built. And they wanted to undermine it. So the way to undermine it is to say, you know what, Yitzchak doesn't really come from Avram. He comes from Avimelech. These Litzanim were not just gossipers. Hashem wouldn't react to a gossiper, but these people were trying to undermine the understanding that there's an Avram to a Yitzchak to a Yaakov, and eventually creating a whole Klal Yisrael. So Hashem wants to react. Yitzchak, as I said, if you look at Yitzchak, in fact, Abarbanel, I think this is Parsha, he shows how everything that Avram did, Yitzchak did the exact same thing. In fact, the Parsha says, Avram dug wells, Yitzchak dug the same wells. Avram gave him certain names. It says the Torah, he gave him the same names of the wells. Avram got married at 40, Yitzchak got married at 40. You name it. Avram told everyone Sarah's his sister, Yitzchak, right? Yitzchak represents the concept of Messiah and tradition. He's not an innovator. His job is to show the world that you can hold on to tradition. In fact, think about it. Who told Abraham to bring Yitzchak as a sacrifice? Hashem. Who told Yitzchak that he's being brought up as a sacrifice? No. Not Hashem. Abraham. His role is to listen to what Abraham says. His role is to follow the lead of his father. And that's not an easy thing to do. Meaning, in a certain sense, it's easier to be creative. It's easier to be kind of blazing trailblazing. Yitzchak's not a trailblazer. Yitzchak's job is to find enthusiasm in the same thing, right? We generally tend to always gravitate to new things. Let's try to do new things. And Yitzchak's avodah was to find newness and freshness in the same Messiah. And that's Yitzchak. When it says Yitzchak looked like Abraham, it certainly might be true physically, but that's not the point. The point is when you saw Yitzchak, you were reminded of Abraham. Every one of Yitzchak's actions reminds you who Abraham was. That was Abraham's role, rather Yitzchak's role. Yitzchak's role was to be an emulator and give us the concept of Messiah. We're around today because we're willing to hold on to our Messiah. And we don't say we got to keep improving it and changing it and tweaking it. No, we hold on to our Messiah. That's Yitzchak. Yitzchak represents Messiah. And you'll see later on, two things. That's why Yitzchak really wanted to give Esav a bracha. Because that's the Messiah. The Bechayra, the firstborn gets it. He didn't want to deviate from the proper Messiah. In fact, when he hears that Yaakov, when he hears from Esav that he actually sold the Bechayra to Yaakov, he goes, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, I was worrying Shema Shanisi as a Seder. Maybe I deviated the Seder. I gave the wrong person the bracha. I gave Yaakov the bracha. But if he's the Bechar, that is the Seder." Yitzchak is always about din. Din means following exactly the way it's supposed to be. Din and Messiah, they're kind of parallel in this sense. So, this is maybe there's a little bit of a drasha, but I'll stick it anyway. It's not very clear who gave the names to the parashiyos. Not really who gave names to the parashiyos. You see already times in the Goinim already, they're giving names to the parashiyos. Obviously, there's some reason for it. I just want to point out, it's a side point, interesting. Noach begins the words, Eila Toldas Noach. Noach is Sad. Parashat Toldut begins, Eila Toldas Yitzchak, Ben Avram. That parsha is called Noach. This parsha is called Toldus. That parsha is not called Toldus, and this parsha is not called Yitzchak. Right? Could be that Noach, the parsha, it's about Noach. Noach, he's the main character in that play, right? This parsha is about Toldus. It's about legacy. It's about passing on from generation to generation. The emphasis on the word Toldus. Okay, just to show you how everything, kind of goes hand in hand. The word Toldos, if it means children, is problematic because we said it doesn't mention Yaakov and Esav. The Sefarno actually learns that Toldos here doesn't mean Toldos, doesn't mean children. It means a saga, the story of, the history of. Right? Someone said, this is a saga, the generations, right? This is the story of Yitzchak. Eila Toldos Yitzchak. And what are the Toldos of Yitzchak? What I just told you. Legacy. The story of Yitzchak is, whatever you saw in Abraham, you saw in Yitzchak. That's his story. Eila Toldos Yitzchak. The story of Yitzchak is, Abraham Holos Yitzchak. That's his story. That when you saw him, you knew who his father was. Rashi sticks to his guns. And Rashi says, no. Rashi says, Toldos doesn't mean that. That's why Rashi says, Yaakov Esav. Rashi tells us, don't learn Toldos like the Sefarno learns, which means the story of, but rather, Rashi always sticks to the simple pshat. Says Toldos normally means children, so I'm sticking to my guns, it means children over here too. Again, the pshat are not mutually exclusive, but Rashi is going up pshat, and the Sefarno is going on a deeper level. But Rashi insists that it's Yaakov Esav. I just want to tell you two things. It's kind of cute. I don't like to use the word cute when it comes to Torah, but in Parashas Bereshis, it says, Eilo Toldos Shemayim V'Aretz B'Baram. That's right before Sheni, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Am I right about that? Right before Sheni? Yeah. If you take a look, it's right on Sheni, right? It's Sheni itself. Look at page 10. Kind of interesting idea. Yeah? You see page 10? Eilo Toldos Shemayim V'Aretz. You see that? Eilo Toldos Shemayim V'Aretz. Okay? Take note. Let me see that? Now turn to page 122. Hold on to one on page 10. Elu told Yishmael ben Avram. You with me there? You see that? And now look at our parsha. Elu told us Yisrael ben Avram. See the word toldos? How is it spelled? In Bereshit, how's it spelled?
With a vav.
Two vavs. Toldos, right? And by Yishmael, how's it spelled?
One.
No vavs. No vavs. And by toldos, how's it spelled? One vav. So in Bereshit, you got two vavs. In by Yishmael, you got zero vavs. And then you got what's pshat? The toldos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu are mole. They're perfect. Two vavs. The toldos of Hashem, what Hashem produces is full, complete. Two vavs. The toldos of Yishmael, totally bankrupt. No vavs. The toldos of Yitzchak?
One.
Why? Because you got Yaakov ve'Esav Amur Parsha. When Rashi says Yaakov ve'Esav, he's kind of hinting, why is toldos spelled with one vav? Because you got one mole, one chassid. You got one Yaakov, you got one Esav. So by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, toldos is written two vavs, mole. By Yishmael, right? His children are bankrupt, there's nothing chassid. But Rashi says, toldos is Yaakov ve'Esav. Oh, that's why it's one vav, yes, one vav, no. Yaakov is mole, Esav's chassid, right? All right, just I'll be recall this, I'll be drash, or I'll be remes perhaps. Okay. But what's interesting, I want to move off of this, but just to answer that question, which is, so why mention, according to Rashi, that toldos means the children of Yitzchak. So why tell us about them, and then you're not mentioning them until later on, right? Until a few seconds later. What's the deal? Why does it? Why in fact does the Torah say, "Elul told us these are the children of Yah"? Right? Why tell us the children of Yisrael if you're not going to tell us who they are till later on? So Maral says, from here you see, or what the pasuk is trying to tell you is, the Torah is introducing us to Yaakov and Esav before they were born, because the Torah wants to tell us that they existed before they were born. That the themes of Yaakov and Esav are over larger than life themes. Let's call them physical versus spiritual, whatever you're going to call them. But the reason why they're introduced to us before they were born is to say they kind of existed before they were born. That Yaakov and Esav are personifications of those things. And that Yaakov and Esav represent themes. It doesn't take away from their free will, because we'll see shortly that Esav, even though you say his propensity was to physicality, he could use physicality in a good way. Doesn't mean physical is not necessarily bad, and spiritual doesn't always have to be good. You can have a warped sense of spirituality also. But Yaakov and Esav existed before they were born, because they were themes before they were born. Yaakov and Esav represent this themes of spiritual and physical. Again, it doesn't preclude free will, because what you do with your spiritual power.
Cain and Abel was similar.
Exactly.
Same
okay,
thing.
you had a question a little way back.
Yeah. After the Akedah, the Torah doesn't report anything between Abraham and Yitzchak.
Right.
Some people say that it was so traumatic that Yitzchak wouldn't have anything to do with his father. But look,
yeah.
You go into Toldut,
right? You see just the opposite,
and you see that's complete nonsense. Because
correct. Well said.
If Yitzchak had a problem with Abraham, he wouldn't possibly have done everything the way Abraham
Very good. Well said.
did.
Well said. Excellent. That's not Irish, well said. Very good. Where Yitzchak disappeared to is some say he was healing in Gan Eden. In fact, there's 2 years of his life that's unexplained, and those 2 years he was in Gan Eden. No, not for us for now. Okay, let's go further. I want to point out one more thing. So, Pasuk Chaf Aleph, Vayosar Yitzchak Lashem, and so Yitzchak davens to Hashem opposite his wife, Ki Akori, because she was barren. Vayosar lo Hashem Vatah Rivka Ishtay. So I want to point out one simple thing. It says Yitzchak davens Hashem opposite his wife, Ki Akori, because she was barren. Really, the logical sequence should be cause and effect. Not effect and cause. It should say, she was barren, therefore he davened. He davened because she was barren. It makes sense, but the logical sequence should have been, and she was barren, and that's why he davened. Cause, you write the cause before the effect. You write the effect and then the cause. That's the only. Why is it written this way? Rabbeinu Chai points this out. I don't think he gives us the answer, but I think he might actually. But the point is that we often in life think that we have certain things in life that are difficult for us, so then we daven to Hashem. Right? Difficulty, daven to Hashem. It's just the opposite. Hashem wants us to daven to Him, therefore He creates difficulties. It says he davened Hashem before she became barren, meaning because the main thing was the tefillah. The barren was just the way to get Yitzchak and Rivka to daven Hashem. In life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sometimes creates traumas and dramas and challenges, because he wants to daven him. And the goal is the davening. Not that the tefillah is just a means to fill the tzorech. The goal is a tefillah. Why? Because tefillah is dveikus. Tefillah is a way of connecting Hashem. And so tefillah, it's only one way of davening, but it's a very powerful way of connecting Hashem. In fact, it's one of the most powerful ways. Typically speaking, we're not going to get to Vayetzer next week, so I'll just tell you this. You find next week's parsha that it says Vayifka b'makom, that Yaakov found the place, and first to the base of Mikdash, and he davened Ma'ariv over there. So you see, Ma'ariv, or tefillah is called Pegia, meeting. Vayifka is referring to tefillah. Why is tefillah meeting? Because Hashem's up here, we're down here. So every mitzvah, let's say that, you kind of climb the ladder of rungs one at a time. That's what happens. And you try to close the gap to get close to Hashem. Tefillah is not that way. We say in davening, Karav Hashem l'chol karav. Hashem is close to all those that call. So we end up meeting him halfway. He comes close to all those that call. It's not this static, Hashem's up here and we're just making way and trying to close the gap. Hashem actually comes down as we come up, hence the meeting point. That's called dveikus. That's a higher level of dveikus than most mitzvahs. Now, Yitzchak and Rivka were very close to Hashem before this. But Hashem says it's worth it to go through 10 years of davening for a child just to earn a little more dveikus, to gain a little more dveikus. So Vayasar Yitzchak Hashem, why? Ki'akari. But the main thing was the tefillah. And Hashem, it says, Mis'avel tefillah tzadikim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires the tefillah tzadikim because Hashem wants them to get closer to Him. And sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts us through a difficult time, dafka, because He wants those tefillahs, not for His sake, obviously, but for our sake.
So the logic of that reasoning is that we would pray for more tzara, so we could.
That's a great question.
Make God happy, happier by having to pray all the time.
That's a great question. So that's a really good question. The Stipler actually speaks about that. He says we daven in the morning, but Hashem, help us. But loyli day yisurin, but don't give us any pains. So he said, what do you mean? If Yisurin can get you close to Hashem, he's talking about Yisurin Shalhavi, especially, that's a different Madraga, but if Yisurin can get us closer, why are we saying? He said, because at the end of the day, it still causes bittul Torah. At the end of the day, it takes away from your ability to learn Torah. When Hashem gives us a challenge, that's up to us. When we ask for our own, that's another thing. When we ask for our own challenges, we're in big trouble. David HaMelech said, Hashem, test me, you'll see I'll do okay, and it did not work out so well for him, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows the talent, so we don't look for more Yisur. HaKadosh Baruch Hu calibrates them perfectly. Even last week's parsha, that cake was not meant to be Sarah's test, right? That's why she didn't handle as well as Avram did on some level, right? So we can't ask for it because we don't want to mention what bring Yisur does, because we don't know what it's going to bring. It's interesting, by the way, speaking about not preempting, so to speak. Later on, we're going to see that Avram dies, that's when the sale of the birthright takes place, and Hashem made Avram die 5 years earlier, so that Avram wouldn't have the agony of seeing Esav go l'tar b'sra. Esav, turned out he kind of came out as a really Russian Marusha, and Hashem had Avram die before that, so he wouldn't have to have that sorrow. Now, obviously in Shemayim, Avram saw it also, but from Shemayim you see a different perspective. Then you see how everything fits into a bigger picture, so there's no tsar in Shemayim. Because, there you see things in a different way. But certainly in this world, Hashem didn't want Avram to have to see that. Now, listen, an amazing thing. Rivka had this trauma, all right? They go back and forth. We went past the base of Medrash. Actually, we're very concerned. And actually decided, what, I'm going to what's it called? I'm going to initiate birth. I'm going to what's what I'm looking for in English people?
You went to a seer, or
when you make the birth happen earlier.
induced.
Rivka said, I'm going to induce labor because I'm having this terrible pregnancy, right? What would have happened? Listen to this husband. There are people who actually induce labor. I remember this specifically in July 8th of 1988. There were a tremendous amount of births, more than usual. Why? Because mothers wanted to have their child born on 8/8/88. And Mishigas, all right? Now, so why are you not allowed to induce labor? There's a couple of reasons why you can't induce labor. Number one is that, even halachically speaking, the Chazal always view labor as a sakana. Right? That's why you have to do anything for a woman that's pregnant about to give birth, right? Give mechal, everything, just right. They view childbirth as a sakana. Even today, with all the advanced medicine, we treat a woman in labor as sakana. You have no right to bring sakana earlier. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants to bring sakana in, you have no right to induce sakana. That's a kind of a halacha. Number two, every child is born with a certain mazel. You preempt the birth and you do sleep earlier. You're messing with the mazel. You're messing with the mazel. Of course, it goes without saying. If the doctors feel that the woman has to be induced, then that's his mazel, and that's what that becomes his time to be born. But there's another cheshbon. You say, okay, so I'll induce labor early. What's the big deal? If Rivka would have induced earlier, Avram would have had to die earlier also. If Avram has to, right, Avram's dying, big the cheshbon. Because if Rivka would be induced earlier, that means Asa was born earlier. That means Asa hits the age of 15 earlier. That means Avram has to die earlier. So you think, oh, what's the big deal? I'll induce labor. What's the big deal? No, it affects Avram's life.
Only a few days.
Well, okay, but I'm saying whatever. Oh, okay, so you want to take somebody?
We're talking about a few days, 175 years.
I want to say anybody say, okay, take my life. It's only a few days.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. Nobody's giving up a few days of life. Who's giving up a few days of life? Right? Who's giving up a few days? I don't see anybody here volunteering a few days of their life. Show me anybody volunteering a few days. I don't think so. But besides that, but certainly whatever would be. The point is that we can't make cheshbainis and think that there's not a bigger picture over there. So sometimes a person dies and a person's born. This is part of a calculus, and that wasn't the case over here. Okay, but anyway, let's go weiter. Okay, so he davens, and that's the main thing. Let's go to page 126. This is really important. Okay, so. It's interesting. Vayetze pasuk. Let's show you how everything in Torah just so. First, verse 25. The first one emerged red, entirely like a hairy mantle. They named him Esav. After that, his brother emerged with his hand grasping on the heel of Esav, so he called his name Jacob. Isaac was 60 when he bore them. Okay. In Hebrew, pasuk Chavei. Vayetze Arisha Admaini Kul Kader Seir Beker Shmai Esav. V'achen Yatzach V'yadachez Beker Esav. Okay. One thing. There's a medrash like this. Asa was born first. So medrash says, Mashal Lamad Avidayim. What's it compared to? It's compared to a king that when he travels, he has people, an advanced team that travels in front of him, sweeping the way, so to speak. So when the king travels, the road is clean. So too, Esav was born earlier to kind of clean out the womb. So when Yaakov comes, it's nice and clean and prepared. That's what the Medrash says. What does that really mean? It sounds so cute. What does that? What does it really make a difference? Clean. What the Medrash is trying to tell us like this. Typically speaking, number one is primary and number two is secondary. So you might think Esav is primary. He came out first. Yeah. There's a Gemara, Psachim. Gemara Psachim says like this. It says, Ach b'yem harish tashbisu. You're supposed to get rid of chametz on the first day. Get rid of chametz on the first day. You can't have chametz for all 7 days. How does it ach b'yem harishon tashbisu? Big problem. The pasuk says on the first, you have to get rid of chametz before the first day of Pesach. You can't have chametz on Pesach. So Gemara says no. Harishon doesn't mean the first. It means the day before the first. Harishon means the day preceding the first. Gemara says I'm not going to get to how that proves. It's Gemara Pesach. I think daf. I don't want daf. But first, one of the first with daf. Ach b'yem harishon means not the rishon, but preceding the rishon. Okay. That's what Gemara says. Look at this pasuk. Vayetze, not Rishon. Vayetze, Harishon Admoini. And look at the next pasuk. It doesn't say Va'achrav Yatsa Achiv. Va'achrav means and followed was Yaakov. When you say followed, it means he's secondary. Va'achrav K means and afterward, right? It's just the opposite. If you look at the psukim properly, Vayetze Rishon. Esav might have thought in his own mind, I'm first. No. You're Harishon. You're there to prepare the way for Yaakov. That's your role. Your role in life is to make sure the physical world is running properly so Yaakov can focus on the spiritual world. They say Harishon, you're preparatory. The Achrei Kain, doesn't say Achrav. The Achrei Kain, and then the main event is Yaakov. You have to learn how to read, but the problem is, Esav didn't know how to read between the lines. And Esav always thought that he's entitled. And we'll see, by the way, this goes all the way down to the Christians today. They think of us as their younger brother, right? And they're really the ones that are entitled as the firstborn. And in some way, in a very, very deep way, there's a certain resentment because they think we took their firstborn rights. That's what's really going on. But Vayetze Harishon is Esav is preparatory. The Achrei Kain is Yaakov's main event. Okay. Now I want to go to the story of the selling the Bechira. Pasuk Chav Tes or 29, right? So I'm going to read the Psukim, and we're not going to be able to do just to go through the whole thing, but let's do a little bit of this. But Yozid Yaakov Nozid. Yaakov was cooking a stew. Yova Esav at Asada, and Esav goes to the field, Voyev, and he's exhausted. First of all, why is Yaakov cooking a stew? Why is Esav coming to the field? And this Yev, he's exhausted. We'll see later on that he's going to bargain for food, right? So really, she says, he's hungry. I mean, he may be exhausted too, but the point of it is, I'm hungry, I want food. Why say I'm exhausted? Say I'm hungry. Vayomer Esav al Yaakov. Esav says to Yaakov, please let me have this red stuff. Ki again, not I'm hungry, but I'm exhausted. Al Kain Korosh my Edom, that's why it's called red. Yaakov Michra came to please sell me like this day. It's kind of strange. Possibly doesn't mean strange like this day. Espachera. But Yom Esav, and Esav says, Hine Neichel L'Chlamis, behold, I'm going to die. Lamas Ali Bechera, who needs a birthright? Right? Vayim Yaakov Yishav L'Kiem, swimming like this day. Yishav L'Kiem because Paras Yaakov. The Yaakov Nasla Esav Lechem is a Hashem. Yaakov gives Esav. Now it's not only beans. Now there's bread in there. There's beans. There's he drinks. He eats. And then Vayakov Vayelav Esav gets up and he mocks the birthright. Okay. Really important, obviously, Parsha to understand. So Yaakov's cooking a stew. Why is he cooking a stew? Medrash tells us because Avram died that night, and he's cooking the stew of Avelis. Cooking stew of Avelis. Esav comes to feel exhausted. Why is he exhausted? Rashi tells us that day he was in the middle of engaging in battle with his arch nemesis Nimrod, and he kills Nimrod that day. But it's not a coincidence that Avram and Nimrod died the same day. They're both opposite forces in the world. Avram is the force of preaching about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nimrod is the force of preaching about Avodah Zarah. So it makes sense the day that Avram was gone, Nimrod has to be gone as well, because there has to be yin-yang, so to speak, free will. So the day that Avram goes, Nimrod goes. Okay, fine.
So did Yaakov and Esav die the same
What?
day? Yaakov
They
and
did.
They did?
Yeah, right? The Medrash says that, well, the day that Yaakov was buried, right, they chopped his head, right? Okay. So, Esav says, I'm really exhausted. Let me have some of this red stuff. Pour this down my throat because I'm exhausted. So this, let me have this red stuff, and that's why it's called red. Now, normally the Torah doesn't spend. Not normally, the Torah never gives us trivial information. I mean, the fact that Esav had a nickname would seem to be insignificant. What I need to know his nickname was. It was called red. But rather, the Torah is not telling us something insignificant. The Torah is telling us about his essence. If I describe a food by its surface color, what does it tell you about me? I'm a surface person. I'm a superficial individual. The fact that he described the beans as red as opposed to its content means he's more attracted to the surface. In fact, he's also attracted to the color red, which is obviously bloody and violent, and that also tells us about who he was. Now, he says, Ki oyev anochi, again, not I'm hungry, because oyev anochi, I'm exhausted. And by the way, the word anochi and ani mean the same thing. Anochi is I, and ani means I. And yet we know, we've mentioned many times, you can't have two words in the Hebrew language that mean the exact same thing, because they're one superfluous. What is the difference between anochi and what's the word ani? If it's a ki oyev ani over here, would anybody miss anything over here? No. Right? What's the difference between ki oyev anochi and ani? So we want to end like this. Pasuk in Lamed Beis, Esav says, behold, I'm going to die. Who needs a birthright? When he says I'm going to die, is it being overly dramatic? I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm faint from hunger. Does it mean that? What does it really mean? So on one level, it means, look, I'm a hunter. And a hunter has an occupational hazard. I hunt, and I can be hunted too. Right? Every guy who hunts a lion could be hunted by the lion too. So, simply means, I don't know if I'll be around tomorrow. My occupation is one that I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I may not be around tomorrow. That's one way of understanding it. And it tells us a few things about Esav. First of the word sayid, or sod, which means to capture, has the same sound as sod. And sod means a secret. What's the connection between a hunter and a secret? Sod and sod. A hunter has to be very deceptive.
Tricky.
He has to be very tricky. You have to, what? Mr. Right. You have to be, right, a hunter has to be very deceptive. He has to camouflage himself, he has to be sneaky. This, all of the hunting is part of Esav's sneaky deceptiveness, right? That's part of who he is. The other reason why he likes hunting is because he likes the thrill of the kill. He likes domination. He likes it's a corrupt version of din. Rather din and justice being done on himself and working on himself, he just wants to impose himself on others, whether it's on human beings or animals. He's simply imposing his will on others. And we see later on, he captures women. He's imposing his will. It's a corruption of din. Rather than din being, I'm imposing on myself, meaning I'm controlling myself, he seeks to control others, other people, and imposing will on people and animals. It's all part of that domination and thing. But there's another reason, and it's kind of a sad thing too. I took my kids a number of years back to Six Flags, and they had like bungee jumping over there. My kids wanted bungee jumping. I said, we're not going bungee jumping, forget about it. I didn't want to look at the bungee jumping, but they made me go. Now, this wasn't like bungee jumping, it was actually like, you stood on a very high platform, and two people got into this swing. They push you off the swing, and you like kind of swing as you go down, like you're hurtling to the ground, like you're going to die, and then you end up going back up, you bounce up, and you swing back and forth. There's two people. Now, I'm watching this, and as they push these people off, and they're coming careening down like they're about to hit the ground, they're not like, you don't see delight in their eyes, you see sheer terror. There's no mistaking, they were terrified. Now, after it's over, they loved it. But while in the process, there's sheer terror. Why are they doing it? It sounds sad, but sometimes, in order to feel alive, people need a brush with death. They need to have this rush that we talk about, is a brush with death. But it's a very sad commentary. If you don't feel alive because you're alive, and you have to almost bring yourself to the brink of death to feel alive, that's a pretty sad commentary. That's all part of Esau's life. And why does he feel dead? This is what we're going to get to now. Philosophically, hine anochi holach lamus doesn't just mean I'm going to die dramatically. Doesn't just mean I'm going to die because my occupational hazard. But it means he's actually expressing a philosophy. He says, look, I'm a physical being, and everything physical heads towards death. That's the very definition of physical. Physical is always breaking down. Energy is dissipating. Right? Things are aging. Entropy. Hine anochi holach lamus, I am heading towards death. That's a fact if you're a physical being. And so for him, I'm dead now. I'm in the process of dying. So that's a pretty sad, depressing thought. If you think of it as in the process of dying every moment, that's a depressing thought. And you need some sort of rush to make you feel alive. But if you're connected to a spiritual world, you're constantly moving and growing. And there's a sense of a rush of excitement of spirituality. It's the opposite. You don't need that artificial rush. But Esau says, Hina anochi lochlomas. And that's why he says the word anochi, not ani. The difference anochi ani is, ani is I, but the emphasis is on the verb that follows it. Ani ochel, ani holech, I am going, I am eating. The emphasis on the verb. I am walking, I am talking, I am this. Anochi means, it is the I, the emphasis on the I. You have the famous anochi where, anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am the Lord your Lord. There the emphasis is I. It is the I. Anochi emphasizes the I. Ani is really for the verb that follows. It doesn't say ani ayef. Anochi ayef. My whole essence is exhaustion. Because if I live my life as a physical being, then I feel exhausted every moment. I'm in a state of exhaustion. My whole life is one big exhaustive state. Because I'm a physical being. That's how he viewed himself. And that's why he says, pour this stuff down my throat like we pour down a camel's throat, meaning I'm a physical being. I'm an animal. I'm a well-developed animal, but nothing more than an animal. So pour this down my throat. And that's an exhaustive state. Anochi ayef. My essence is one of exhaustion. Now, just a couple of things. Just to round this off. Some people say, listen, Yaakov pulled a fast one on Esau. First of all, he was exhausted. So, it's not really fight. He took advantage of an exhausted Esau. Right? In fact, even legally, might argue, that's under duress. Maybe it doesn't even count as a legal document, as a legal transaction. And maybe Esau wasn't even aware of what he was giving up. He kind of fooled the fast one. He didn't know he was giving up something special. So it's ethically unappealing to us. It legally doesn't sound right. So there's two things. First of all, he knew what he was giving up. Esau knew exactly what he was giving up. The Pasuk, Lamed Beis, says, Hine anochi lamas, v'lama zeh li b'chayra. This word zeh is unnecessary. V'lama li b'chayra. Why don't I need a birthright? In fact, the English doesn't even have the word this. I don't know, it's not really right. It just skips out the word zeh totally. It says, of what use is a birthright? Right? It doesn't even have the word zeh in there, which I don't know how they skipped it out. But in Hebrew, lama zeh li, why don't I need this birthright? The word zeh, the Torah tells, Chazal tells all the time, means something you can point to with the finger. I see clearly. Like HaChodesh Zeh Lachem, Hashem pointed. This is the way the moon looks like, right? Zemi. So it says Lama Zeli B'chayim means Esav knew exactly what he was giving up. He could point to it. He knew what he was giving up.
Well, he also knew when he cried out to his father.
Yes, we'll get there.
At the bracha.
Yes.
He knew.
The Lama Zeli B'chayim. Okay, that's number one. Number two, to address the fact that he was delirious at the time of the transaction is also not correct. Look at Pasuk Lamed Daled. Again, if you look at the words themselves. The Yaakov Nosan LeEsav Lechem U'Nezidashim. God gave to Esav bread, Nezidashim, a whole meal, right? What does Nosan mean? What does Nosan mean? He gave. What does Vayiteng mean?
Took.
No, Vayiteng.
Possession.
Offer.
And he gave. Vayiteng means he gave. So what does Nosan mean then? They both mean and he gave. Can't be. Nosan means he had already given. Vayiteng means he now gave. Nosan means he had already given. It should have said Vayiteng Yaakov le'Esav lechem. And now Yaakov gave to Esav bread. Nosan means he had already given. Natan means he had already given. What does that mean? That we even though the pasuk don't seem that way, the pasuk is telling us the meal took place before the sale.